Hey everyone, Scott Norris here from Virtualiseme.tv. Now, I've been asked a couple of questions and I've done it at some customer sites. How do we dynamically provision from vRA to clusters based on vROps capacity metrics? So it's actually not that hard. Today we'll just step through a very basic. Now I've just created something really simple and nasty. Now, don't take it as that's something I'll actually put in production because it's not. It'll at least give you the building blocks to be able to go forth and refine it and make it your own. And obviously, I've had to, in generally, I would have a key value store, etcd, or something similar that I would have another task that would actually go out and grab the metrics that I required and ingest them into key values so that A, it's quicker when people are provisioning their boxes, and B, we can be a bit more advanced about it. We can have a bit more refined, and it works really well. So let's just dive into vRA. Now, the one thing we're going to need in vRA is our property of reservation ID. So we'll see here we've got reservation policy ID. So reservation policy ID is what we can assign a reservation policy to at provisioning time, and that's where it's going to go. So when we set up a blueprint, and in this instance, I did make a new one. There we go. You don't specify a reservation policy in here. So that's just a plain vanilla clone. That's all it's doing. Then what we need to do is set this __ reservation policy ID in property definitions. As you can see here, I've just given it a label. This is going to be reservation, drop down list, and I'm running this script with no inputs. So we'll go and have a look at what that action script is. And also when you set this, if we go back to design, we set that. I've actually got it in a property group, but we set that, it's called AWS reservation, but we set that on the properties of the machine. So we can have a look there. That's set. And that'll be, as you can see, that'll be show and request, and that's overrideable, and that's what we want. So it's really simple from vRA's point of view, but then we've got to dive under the hood. So let's have a look at vRO. So I just had a couple of workflows. So what I'm doing is I cheated a little bit in this instance because I didn't have a store where I was getting the values, and it was a lot simpler to dynamically grab the properties out of vROps using a workflow rather than a action. But let's have a look. I've got so for starters, I've got this action that just grabs the reservation policy IDs. So I knew what my IDs were. So I put in the name, which I've forgotten what they are at the moment, of the reservation policy, and it will spit me back the name, spit me back the ID, sorry, of the name. So we see there, and yeah, it's not logging. We can go and have a look at that, and we can see, for people who don't know JavaScript, it's a bit gibberish, but essentially just polls vRA and grabs back the reservation policy ID, which is what we need to fill in that field. So I already knew what my IDs were, so I have them sort of hard coded in here. So the way you would want to make this more dynamic is if your reservation policies by name match up or can be dynamically used to find themselves in vROPS. So they have to match up in vROPS and in vRA, or be something similar that you can dynamically match the two, or else you're going to have to do some hard coding of some swing. And you know, for a small environment, that's probably not a problem at all. So if you just have a look at my action, so this is the action. Where is it? This is the action that the reservation policy ID field property is going to run in vRA. Now we can see here I've just created a new uh, object. So this is my policy reservation policies in vRA, and these are their associated vROPS IDs, because obviously they don't match what's really, except for this one. Oh, sorry, they sort of do. They're my reservation, yeah, policy names with their vROPS IDs. Then we have, I want to get my configuration attribute. So I'm actually using configuration attributes to grab the workflow that I want to run. Makes it a bit easier than trying to find it. I execute that workflow by going for each of these. Throw in there. And then whatever it spits out at the end, it basically goes if the stat is higher, if there's a higher percentage, because I'm particularly choosing only one stat, and that's the capacity remaining. And you can do it on all, you can do it on many, but it's very whatever better suits your environment. And I've basically said, yep, if it's larger than the previous, then write it in. So it's just doing a very dumb way, as if it just goes through each one of the clusters that vROPS gives back, and if one's got more space than the other, it overrides it. So it's whatever has the most amount of space by the end of the run, which is going to be given back to me. So it's not that smart, but you know, it gives you an idea of how it can be done. And then it returns. So then it returns if it's this cluster, then it will return that reservation policy ID, and if it's this cluster, we'll return this. So as I said, I've hard coded this in here just to make it a lot easier and quicker to show, obviously. So if we go in here, and this is just running that action, that's all it's doing. So if we run, it doesn't take any inputs, and hopefully it's logging. There you go. So it's come out and it's gone Virtualiseme. Has the most space, which is good. And then we'll just dive into vROPS. So we can see here that this one, I'm basing it on essentially remaining here. So this is 53% remaining, and this is 66.7. So let's have a look at my variables. Actually, let's have a look up here and see what it gave back. Yeah, 66.16. Yeah, close enough to 7. And this one 53. So cool. That matched up. So if we go and request a machine, you see that it's running those actions in the background. Now they're available, and it gives me my only option, which is that one. So that they just ran another 2 times, so it's a nice quick one. And in here, it's literally just going vROPS token, grabs that, requests the REST operation, and that REST operation I will just show is your very basic vROPS get stat. Yeah. So resource ID. Yes, this is it. So we're asking for the stat resource IDs. That's where we put the vROps cluster ID in there, and then the stat I've actually hard coded in there for CPU percentage remaining. I think it is. We can just have a quick look. Yeah, there it is. CPU capacity remaining. So that should just be under in general. Yep, and I've hard coded that in there. All very bad practices, but hey, it gets it across. So I will provision that, submit. Now, while that's going, because that's submitted and off, what we'll do is we'll change vROps, just so we know that it's actually working. We'll change the policy. Obviously, I'm running a stupid 20:1 overcommit here just to get it to have more space than the other. Now, let's go down to the standard 6. None of that one. Now, hopefully, it probably won't take till next refresh. Yep, I just need a little bit of time. So let's have a look at that. Okay, that's building that box. Now, hopefully, that box is actually, yep, it's in the Virtualiseme cluster. Now, let's see how this is looking. Oh, yeah, it doesn't look no good now. All right, so we've got 0. Now, let's see if it has worked. I go back into vROps recommendation. And it looks different. Let's have a look, see the two that ran. The last two there. We can see Virtualiseme has nothing remaining. That one has 53. So it should have given us which one is that? Here's my output. Yeah, so it should have given us the other one. Pretty sure that's the other one. Forgotten what the ID was. Sweet. So let's submit that again. That was the C something, wasn't it? Let's go and have a look at the action. Yeah, so auto deploy. Awesome. So that has done exactly what it was meant to do. Now we should see another one spin up here. And it should come up in here. Oh, There we go. 31. And it's in the auto deploy. Same catalog item, different clusters based on capacity. Simple as that. Nailed it. So, I'll be supplying all the workflows for this, available to download from my blog. Go there and grab them, use them for yourself for a building block. Obviously, they're not going to work. They've got my stuff hard-coded into it, but replace it with your own. Look about how doing it a bit more dynamic, matching up your reservation policy IDs or reservation policies to clusters and the actual names, something that you can dynamically generate the name from, so that you can tell what it is. I've had to do that at many customer sites, as in actually naming the reservation policies in such a manner that we were able to be very dynamic in where we deploy. But you have to keep those in sync, or else, yes, you're going to have to, because they don't know about each other, you're going to either have to do some hard coding otherwise. So there'll always be a bit of manipulation needed there, just so that you're able to generate or pick up the vROps IDs to the policy IDs. But yeah, anyway, have fun. Hope it's useful. Cheers, bye.